The universe doesn't play favorites, but it does keep the score. Every action creates a ripple, and every move you make shifts the balance. Those who try to throw thorns in your path don't realize that life has a way of making them walk barefoot over their own destruction. The same people who scheme against you, who whisper doubts into your mind, who try to break you, watch how fate turns them into spectators of your success. That's the irony they never see coming. Power isn't given, it's taken. And those who fear losing control know this better than anyone. That's why they fight so hard to keep you unaware of your own strength. But here's what they don't understand. The more they push against you, the more they fuel the fire inside you. They don't just lose, they become the architects of their own downfall. Have you ever noticed how their own lives start crumbling while you rise? That's not coincidence. That's balance. That's the universe setting the scales straight. Chosen ones, your energy isn't just seen, it's felt. It shifts rooms, disrupts weak minds, and makes small people uneasy. You don't have to speak for them to hear you. You don't have to fight for them to feel defeated. Your very existence is a threat to their illusion of power. And that, more than anything, terrifies them. They want you to doubt yourself because they are drowning in doubt. They want you to fear failure because they have already failed. They want you to play small because they know once you fully step into your power, they can't stop you. They never could. So let them plot, let them scheme, let them try. Their struggle against you is proof that you're already ahead. And the best revenge? Success so loud, it silences them forever. If you feel this message, if it woke something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, subscribe, because the world needs more people who refuse to be controlled. We are just getting started. Number 1. Stop trying to fit in. Your very existence is a threat to the system. You don't have to lift a finger to shake their world. Your very presence does that. The way you walk, the way you think, the way you refuse to fit into the little box they made for you, it all disrupts the fragile reality they cling to. They need everything to be predictable, to make sense, to follow the rules they created. But you weren't made to follow their script, and that terrifies them. Power isn't about shouting the loudest or proving yourself to anyone. True power is in being unshakable, in owning your space without permission, in moving through the world on your own terms. And when you do that, it messes with their minds. They need you to conform, because if you don't, it forces them to question everything, their beliefs, their limits, their choices. You are the proof that they settled for less. And instead of fixing themselves, they'll try to fix you, make you smaller, more manageable, easier to categorize. They'll say you're too much, too intense, too ambitious, too different. But what they really mean is, you make me see my own weakness, and I don't like it. They'll try to dim your light because it exposes how dim theirs has become. That's why they whisper behind your back. That's why they try to keep you in check, to humble you, to remind you that you should stay in your lane. But whose lane? The one they created? The one that keeps them safe but stagnant? They can't stand that you don't need their validation, that even if they don't approve, you keep moving. They call it arrogance, but it's not. It's freedom. And freedom is a dangerous thing to those who have spent their entire lives in invisible cages. You weren't born to be part of their system. You weren't designed to be predictable, to fit into the same tired patterns that keep them comfortable. You are an anomaly, and anomalies disrupt everything. That's why they fear you. Not because of anything you've done, but because of what you are. A reminder that rules can be broken, expectations can be shattered, and limits only exist for those who choose to obey them. And the best part? You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need them to understand. Because no matter how much they resist, no matter how uncomfortable your presence makes them, they feel it. They know they can't control you. And nothing terrifies them more than that. So let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them try to minimize you. It changes nothing. You are a force, and whether they accept it or not, that's a reality they can't escape. Number 2. Never let them predict you. Unpredictability is the ultimate power move. They can't handle what they can't predict. And you are the storm they never saw coming. They built their world on patterns, routines, and expectations, believing that as long as people follow the script, they stay in control. But then you showed up. Unscripted, uncontrolled, unapologetically different, and that shakes them to their core. Most people live their lives on autopilot, repeating the same cycles, following the same rules, trapped in the illusion that everything is meant to be predictable. They move like pieces on a chessboard, expecting everyone to play by the same set of rules. But you flipped the entire board over. You don't move like they do. You don't play the game they created. You don't give them the reaction they expect. That's why they watch you so closely. They need to figure you out. They need to control you. But no matter how hard they try, they can't. And that terrifies them. When people can predict you, they can prepare for you. They can set traps, create obstacles, manipulate you into playing a role that benefits them. But when you refuse to be predictable, when you think differently, move differently, exist differently, they don't know what to do with you. And that fear turns into obsession. They test you, push your buttons, try to box you in, because if they can make you react the way they want, they can make you play by their rules. But when you remain unreadable, when you refuse to give them the satisfaction of a predictable response, they lose all power over you, and that's when the fear turns into panic. Understand this: the strongest people are not the ones who shout the loudest or demand attention. The strongest are the ones who remain a mystery, who make others uneasy simply by existing, who force people to second-guess everything. The second they realize they never had you figured out is the second they realize they never had control in the first place. You don't owe anyone predictability. You don't have to fit into the limited expectations they set for you. The more you embrace your unpredictable nature, the more untouchable you become, because by the time they finally think they have you figured out, it's already too late. Number 3. Quit waiting for approval. No one hands you greatness. You take it. They've spent their whole lives waiting for approval, for permission, for someone to tell them it's okay to rise. But you don't wait. You don't ask. And that makes you dangerous. Most people are programmed to believe they need someone else to choose them. A boss, a system, a society that decides when they're ready. It's a lie, a carefully built illusion designed to keep them in place, watching while others take the lead. But the moment you realize that no one is coming to grant you power, you take away the very thing that keeps most people stuck, the fear of moving without approval. That's why they don't like it when you step up on your own, when you start owning your voice without asking if it's too loud, when you take up space without questioning if you deserve it, when you stop apologizing for wanting more. It makes them uncomfortable, because they still need permission to feel worthy. But you don't. And that's what makes you a problem. They'll try to humble you. They'll whisper doubts, plant hesitation, tell you you're not ready. Not because it's true, but because they need it to be true. If you hesitate, they get ahead. If you second-guess yourself, they buy more time. That's the only move they have, to make you doubt what's already yours. But if you refuse to play their game, if you decide you're ready without waiting for someone to tell you, the entire game shifts. Suddenly, they don't have power over you. Suddenly, you're moving on your own terms, and they can't stop you. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need a green light. You don't need their validation for your power to be real. The only thing that matters is whether you recognize it. Because the second you do, nothing, not their doubts, not their opinions, not their rules, can stop you. Number 4. Don't shrink yourself. Your presence exposes their weaknesses. Your presence is more than just seen. It's felt, and for some, it's unbearable. Not because of anything you've done, but because of what you represent. You remind them of the risks they never took, the potential they ignored, the dreams they let rot inside them. You are a mirror they never asked for, reflecting back the life they could have lived. And that's something they can't handle. So what do? They lash out. Not always directly. Sometimes it's disguised as a joke, a subtle insult, a comment meant to plant doubt in your mind. You think you're better than everyone. Why are you trying so hard? Must be nice to have that kind of confidence. But what they're really saying is, I see something in you that I wish I had in myself. They don't hate you, they hate the truth you force them to see. And instead of fixing themselves, they take the easy route, trying to bring you down. Because if they can make you second-guess yourself, if they can dim your light just a little, they won't have to face their own darkness. But here's where they fail. You are not their excuse. Their self-imposed limits, not your problem. Their unwillingness to grow, not your burden. You were never meant to shrink to make others comfortable. You were meant to rise, to evolve, to keep becoming something they can't ignore, no matter how much they wish they could. Understand this. People don't attack mediocrity. No one wastes energy on those who blend into the background, who never challenge the status quo. But you disrupt everything. You force them to confront what they've avoided their entire lives. And that's why some will admire you, while others will try to destroy you. The ones who are ready to grow will see you as inspiration. The ones who are afraid to change will see you as a threat. Either way, it's not your fight. Let them project their fears. Let them struggle with their own limits. Let them drown in their own insecurities. You keep moving forward, keep rising, keep proving, without saying a word, that you are unstoppable. Because the higher you go, the smaller they become. Number 5. Ignore the gossip. The more they talk, the more you've already won. The moment they start talking about you, you've already won. The second your name leaves their lips, you've taken up space in their minds, rent-free. And here's the truth they'll never admit. People don't waste energy on what doesn't matter. They don't gossip about the weak. They don't attack those who pose no threat. If they're fixated on you, if they're twisting your words, if they're trying to tear you down, it's because deep down, they know you've already risen above them. They fear what they can't control, and you are uncontrollable. You don't seek their validation. You don't need their permission to move forward. You don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. And that shakes them to their core. Because if you succeed without bending to their rules, it forces them to question why they ever played by those rules in the first place. So what do? They scramble. They whisper behind your back, twist your success into luck, call your confidence arrogance, and try to make you question yourself, not because any of it is true, but because they need it to be true. If they admit your power is real, if they admit you built yourself without their approval, it forces them to confront their own limits. And that's something they're not ready for. But here's where it gets funny. The more they try to discredit you, the more they prove your power. Every time they mention your name, they make you relevant. Every time they talk about you, they spread your influence. They want you to disappear, yet they keep making sure everyone knows who you are. They become your unpaid promoters. So let them talk. Let them obsess. Let them exhaust themselves trying to drag you down. They don't realize they're fueling the very thing they fear. Because while they waste their energy watching you, you're too busy winning to notice them. And that's the ultimate checkmate. Number 6. Stop seeking approval. Respect will take you further than being liked. Most people are trapped in a game they don't even realize they're playing. The game of being liked. They twist themselves, shrink their power, and adjust their words just to fit into a mold someone else created. But here's the truth they don't want to face. When you live for approval, you become dependent on it. And when you're dependent, you're controllable. That's why the weak chase popularity, but the powerful. They chase respect. Because respect isn't built on fake smiles, empty compliments, or surface-level approval. Respect is built on impact, on presence, on undeniable value. And here's the thing, the most powerful people in history, they weren't loved by everyone. They didn't need to be. They weren't bending over backward to please the crowd. They were too busy making history. When you stop caring about being liked, something shifts. You start moving differently. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your choices. You stop watering yourself down to make weak people feel comfortable. And that's when the real power kicks in, because people can ignore someone they don't like, but they can't ignore someone they respect. Respect forces them to acknowledge you, even when they don't want to. It puts you in positions where their personal opinion becomes irrelevant, because your presence is undeniable. When you carry true power, it doesn't matter if they gossip, misunderstand you, or try to bring you down. Their approval holds no weight. They can't stop you. That's why they try so hard to pull you back down. They'll call you arrogant, cold, too much. But what they really mean is, I don't know how to control you. And that, more than anything, terrifies them. Because they've spent their whole lives playing by the rules, chasing approval, waiting for someone else to tell them they're good enough. Meanwhile, you're out here writing your own rules. So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them doubt you. Their opinions hold no power over someone who doesn't seek permission to be great. Because at the end of the day, being liked fades, but respect, that lasts forever. Number 7. Quit explaining yourself. Small minds will never understand your vision. They don't understand you, and they never will. Not because you're wrong, not because you're difficult, not because you need to explain yourself better, but because you don't even speak the same language. You speak in action. They speak in fear. You talk in movement, in progress, in execution. They talk in excuses, in hesitation, in self-imposed limits. You say, let's make it happen. They say, but what if it goes wrong? You think, what's the next step? They think, what's the safest option? You are on a different frequency, operating at a level they cannot reach. They are trapped in loops, repeating the same fears, the same doubts, the same insecurities that keep them comfortable. And nothing makes people more uncomfortable than watching someone who refuses to stay trapped with them. That's why they look at you like you're the strange one. That's why they call you reckless, unrealistic, arrogant. It's not because you are, it's because your mindset makes theirs feel small. Instead of rising to meet you, they try to pull you back to where they can understand you again. They want you within reach, where your ambition isn't a threat, where your fearlessness doesn't remind them of their own weakness. But you don't owe them that. You don't have to shrink yourself so they feel safe. You don't have to slow down so they can keep up. You don't have to explain your vision to people who were never meant to see it. If they don't understand your moves, let them stay confused. If they don't get why you think the way you do, let them misinterpret you. If they want to stay stuck in the same cycles, repeating the same excuses, drowning in the same limitations, let them. But you have things to build, places to go, a future that demands your full energy. The ones who are meant to be on your level, they won't need an explanation. They will recognize your language the moment they hear it. Number 8. Silence is your weapon. Real power is in what you choose not to say. Power isn't about how loud you can be. It's not about shouting, proving, or explaining yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. In fact, the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. The one who needs validation, who needs to be heard because deep down, they don't even believe in their own strength. But you don't need that. You hold a different kind of power, the kind that doesn't beg for recognition, but demands it without a single word. Silence is a weapon, and those who don't understand that will never control you. People expect you to react. They push your buttons, hoping you'll lash out, defend yourself, or play into their game. They want you to prove something because the second you do, you've already lost. The moment you explain yourself, you give them something to twist, to manipulate, to use against you. But when you say nothing, when you refuse to play their game, that's when they start to break. Nothing unsettles a weak mind more than an opponent they can't figure out. They panic, they overthink, they wonder what you know that they don't. Silence forces them to question themselves, to second-guess their own words. And that is where the real power lies. Think about it. Why do the strongest leaders, the most feared individuals, never waste time with petty arguments? They don't explain themselves. They don't react to nonsense, because they don't need to. Their presence alone is enough. Their actions, their results, their energy speaks louder than any words ever could. But small minds, they thrive on noise. They need an audience. They crave reactions. That's why they provoke, hoping you'll break character and meet them on their level. But the chosen ones, we don't lower ourselves to entertain the weak. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every rumor needs to be corrected. Not every challenge is worth your time. Power is about knowing when to strike and when to stay silent. Because when you master the art of restraint, you become something no one can control, and that makes you untouchable. Number 9. Break their illusions. The rules they follow were never real. You are the glitch in their system, the living proof that the rules they worship were never real to begin with. They were told to follow a path, to play it safe, to check every box before they could succeed. They believed success had to be earned a certain way, slowly, obediently, within the limits placed on them. But then you came along. You didn't wait your turn. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't follow the script. And that shakes them to their core. They need to believe in the rules because it justifies their lack of action. It makes them feel safe, like there's an order to life, like success is fair and predictable. But when you break those rules, when you take what's yours without waiting, you force them to confront something they never wanted to admit. Maybe they could have done the same. Maybe the limits they accepted weren't real. Maybe they were never stuck, just afraid. So what do? They try to discredit you. They call you lucky. They say you had an unfair advantage. They convince themselves you must have cheated the system because the alternative is too painful, admitting that they were the only thing holding themselves back. It's not hate, it's fear. Fear that they wasted years waiting for something that was never coming. Fear that they could have made their move, but didn't. Fear that you are proof they had no excuse. And here's the irony, they need you to be wrong. Because if you're right, if success isn't about following their imaginary rules, then everything they believed in crumbles. That's why they lash out. That's why they try to drag you back down. Not because you don't belong at the top, but because your presence up there proves they were never truly trapped. But here's the truth. You are the exception. And exceptions make people nervous because they expose reality for what it is. A game where the only real rule is courage. Keep going, keep disrupting, keep proving them wrong. Because the moment you stop, they win. And that's not an option. Number 10. See through their lies. The system fears those who can't be controlled. Most people walk through life blind, not because they can't see, but because they refuse to. They are locked inside a system that was designed to keep them obedient, chasing things that don't matter, believing in lies that keep them weak. They've been taught that success comes from approval, that happiness depends on validation, that power is something granted, not taken. And they accept it because questioning the system means risking everything. But you see through it all. You don't fall for their distractions. You don't buy into their illusions. You understand that the game was rigged from the start, and worse, you know how to win it. That alone makes you a threat. Not just to individuals, but to entire systems built on keeping people asleep. You can't be manipulated with false promises. You don't chase meaningless rewards. You don't waste your energy running in circles, playing by rules that were never meant to be fair. And that shakes them to their core. They need people to stay controlled, to keep believing that following the path leads to success, that obedience brings security, that staying small is the smart choice. But you've seen the truth. Real power comes from refusing to play their game. That's why they try so hard to break you, to silence you, to discredit you before others wake up too. Because once one person proves the game is fake, everyone else starts questioning it. You don't just threaten their authority, you threaten the very foundation of how they hold control. You force them to face the reality that their power only exists as long as others believe in it. And once enough people stop believing, once they stop playing by the rules, the entire system falls apart. So they will fight to keep you in check. They will call you reckless, arrogant, a problem. Not because you're wrong, but because you're right. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong. And the most dangerous part? The moment you fully step into your power, others will see it too. And when that happens, when enough people realize the truth, their entire illusion shatters, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Number 11. Stop expecting company at the top. Power demands sacrifice. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. But don't mistake that loneliness for a loss. It's proof you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Power isn't for everyone. Mastery isn't for the weak. And the path to greatness? It's designed to be walked alone. At first, It stings. You'll watch people you trusted drift away. Conversations that once felt effortless will start to feel forced. People who once cheered for you will suddenly seem distant, cold, or even resentful. You'll wonder if you did something wrong, if you changed too much, if maybe, just maybe, you should slow down so they can keep up. Don't. Because the truth is, they were never meant to go where you're going. Some people are built for comfort, not for growth. They settle into routines, distractions, and excuses. They crave predictability, not progress. And when you decide to break free from that, it forces them to confront something they don't want to admit. They had the same choice, but they didn't take it. That's why they resent you. That's why they try to pull you back down. Not because they hate you, but because your rise exposes their stagnation. It reminds them that the life they settled for was a choice, not a fate. And instead of leveling up, they try to convince you to dim your light. They'll tell you that you've changed, that you're different, that you're leaving them behind. But here's the truth. You were never meant to stay at their level. You are chosen. And the chosen ones don't walk the same path as the rest. The air is thinner at the top for a reason. Only the strongest can breathe there. Number 12. Shut down their doubt. They project their fears because they know you're capable. Doubt is their weapon, and you are their target. They don't need to physically stop you. They don't have to lay out obstacles in your path. All they have to do is plant a seed of hesitation in your mind, just enough to make you pause, to make you question yourself. Because once you start second-guessing, once you hesitate, they've already won. You'll do the rest of the work for them. This is the game they play. It's never direct. It's subtle, disguised as concern, wrapped in false encouragement. They'll say, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Or, "What if you fail?" They'll remind you, people like us don't usually make it that far. But make no mistake, this isn't advice, it's fear. Their fear handed to you like it belongs to you. Because here's the truth. Your existence forces them to face a reality they've been running from their entire lives. They have spent years convincing themselves that success is only for the chosen few, that confidence is arrogance, that taking risks is reckless, that staying small is the smart choice. Then you come along, breaking every rule they swore was real. You prove them wrong just by moving forward. And that terrifies them, because if you succeed, it means they were never trapped. They were just too afraid to step out. If you win, it means they could have won too, but they chose not to. And instead of rising with you, instead of using your success as proof that they can do it too, they'd rather pull you back down. Number 13. Let go of fear. The one, least afraid to lose, always wins. Power isn't measured by how much you own, how loud you speak, or how many people recognize your name. Real power is the absence of fear, and the most powerful person in any room, it's not the one with the title, the wealth, or the status. It's the one who isn't afraid to lose it all. Because when you fear nothing, you can't be controlled. Most people don't move with power. They move with fear. Fear of losing what they've built. Fear of failure. Fear of being judged. Even the ones who seem powerful, the ones sitting at the top, clinging to their influence, are trapped. They aren't playing to win. They're playing to not lose. That's why they hoard, protect, and refuse to take risks. They're so busy holding on that they never rise higher. But you play a different game. You aren't here to hold on to a fragile illusion of security. You aren't here to live in fear of what could go wrong. You aren't ruled by the thought of losing, because deep down, You understand something they never will. Freedom is the ultimate power. The moment you stop fearing loss, you become dangerous. You move in ways others are too scared to. You take risks they can't even comprehend. And that makes you a nightmare for anyone who is ruled by fear. They can't control you with rejection. They can't manipulate you with threats. They can't break you with failure. Nothing they do works. While they cling to what they have, you expand. While they hesitate, you strike. While they shrink to protect themselves, you grow beyond them. And sure, sometimes you'll stumble. Sometimes you'll lose. But you'll never be stuck. You'll never be frozen in fear, watching others pass you by. Because no matter what happens, you will keep moving, keep building, keep rising. Detach from fear. Detach from the illusion that safety comes from staying still. The second you do, you step into real power. Because a person with nothing to fear is a person no one can stop. Number 14. Stop playing it safe. You weren't born to be contained. You are the storm. They wanted you to be predictable, easy to handle, something they could place in a box and keep under control. They wanted you to be the shelter, quiet, safe, and always bending to fit their comfort. But they miscalculated. Because you were never meant to be contained. You are not the shelter. You are the storm. Storms don't ask for permission to move. They don't wait for approval before they change everything in their path. They don't whisper or tiptoe to keep the weak from feeling unsettled. They come without warning. They shake the ground. They force the world to adjust to them, not the other way around. That's exactly what you do. The way you think, the way you walk, the way you refuse to obey the rules they've sworn are unbreakable. It sends waves through their illusion of control. That's why they try to slow you down. That's why they tell you to be careful, to not rock the boat, to think about how your choices affect others. Not because they care about your well-being, but because they fear losing their grip. They don't want you to disrupt the system they benefit from. They want you to stay small, stay quiet, stay ordinary. Because if you step into your power, they'll have no say in what happens next. And that terrifies them. But here's the truth. The ones who fear the storm are the ones who built their lives on weak foundations. The ones who are ready, they will rise with you. They will feel the energy shift and step forward, unafraid, because they know real change never happens in silence. Power isn't about being the loudest, the most liked, or the most accepted. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to shrink. It's about breaking the rules that were never real to begin with. It's about stepping fully into the version of yourself that most people are too afraid to become. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. And you definitely don't need to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them fall away. None of it matters. Because deep down, they know exactly what you are. They feel it, even if they don't admit it. They see it, even if they pretend not to. And deep down, they understand. You are not here to fit in. You are here to change everything. So let them be uncomfortable. Let them question you. Let them try and fail to stop you. Because the air gets thinner at the top. Not everyone is built for it, but you are. And here's the truth you need to remember. The world doesn't reward those who wait for permission. It bows to those who step into their power without hesitation. They will doubt you, resist you, try to contain you, but it won't matter. Because once you see your power, once you own it, there's no turning back. You don't need their approval. You never did. If this message hit you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for more, subscribe, because this This is just the beginning.